What's kind of your process of going through a story like this and figuring out the best way to
Best way to make it?
Yeah.
Our job is to basically take the words on the page and transfer them to shots on the screen. And so, you just you read it a few times. I read it once just to kind of get all the beats, and then I read it again and try to really get into what the writer is after. Emotionally, what is the subtext of each scene? Judd's script is pretty deep. There's a lot of complexities to it. So it took more than a couple of reads. I just kept rereading it. I mean, in this case too, I had the benefit of being able to read the comic books, so it had already sort of been brought to life in pictures once before, and that helped out a lot. So that's kind of the process. A lot of reading, a lot of thinking.
Every Batman film has a different look these days, even in the way the characters animated. How did you guys approach in this particular project to give Batman their own flavor?
Well, I mean, form follows function. I mean, Judd's script had a very realistic tone about it, so I wanted to match that. Also, after reading it, it just felt like a good old-fashioned Batman story to me, in that there's not a lot of supers in it. It's the Dark Knight detective doing what he does best, and so that was something else that really it appealed to me, and it's something we were trying to get across in the design as well. So we got John Suzuki did the character designs for this one, and I think he really felt the script as well, and we kind of came up with sort of a more realistic style. It's not too anime, it's not too Saturday morning. It's more on the realistic side, and of course, our art direction with the buildings, set designs, the set color, all of that, it all follows. So I think that all fed into the final look and feel of the film, and all of that was sort of based by the script.
How much of the process do you have as far as voice casting and picking out the actors and everything like that?
It's sort of a collective process. I think Andrea and Bruce and myself, we all sort of sit down and we all have our little wish list of people that we might like to work with and would feel right for the part. And so we all sort of get together and just throw names out, and we just discuss it. And that's literally how it works out. Sometimes we'll all agree on somebody. You make a phone call, not available. So that happens too. But it's a collective process.
Do you think it's less important to have continuity of voice acting for each of the Batman movies? Do you think it's less important than creating a single feel for an individual standalone movie? That's kind of the key thing, and it's not so important to have the same voice talent that's been kind of carried through.
Honestly, it's important to me both as a filmmaker and a fan. I kind of like to see the projects stand on their own.
Yes.
Just I think a different writer and artist combo in the comic books will kind of make a different feel to the story. I think the movies kind of need that as well. So I really like the change of the backgrounds. I think it helps each new story stand alone. So I like it. I know not all the fans do. Maybe that's a little controversial.
You can be controversial.
Who approached you to get this job?
Bruce did. Bruce and Sam Register as well. The president at Warner Bros. I've been there. Since the Batman. I think that's when I did come back there. My very first job in the industry was working for Bruce on the new Batman Superman adventures. And after that, I'd worked at Sony for a few years. I came back to Warner's with the Batman. Did Legion of Superheroes. Did Superman Doomsday. Batman Brave and the Bold. And then finally this, now on to Young Justice, which has yet another Batman in it.
Sounds like a theme.
Yeah.
So, kind of a two-part question. What are the differences directing animated Batman for TV versus directing animated Batman for film? Since you work on you did Superman Doomsday, but no Batman there.
Right.
And the second question is, I don't want to say your favorite, but in your mind, when you think of the character of Batman, what vision of Batman do you see? Is he more Silver Age? Is he Dark Knight? Is he somewhere in the middle?
Okay, so the first question, difference between directing for like Saturday morning versus the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Saturday morning. I love the short-term storytelling. I love just being able to turn around stories really fast. I mean, the cool part about features though is you can spend a little more time with the character. You get to a much longer story, a more realistic tone. I mean, you can get a little more violent, of course, with the movies, and not that that's really something we dwell upon. We don't want to be crude. I don't think we want to use violence in a bad way. It's always supposed to kind of help the story, help the characters, but I think you get to explore that in a way that's more rewarding in a weird way for the audience. I think everything feels a little safer in Saturday morning. In the movie format, kind of take the safety net away and push the characters further than you can in Saturday morning. And that's the part that I feel is more rewarding for the audience, when you can push your characters further, watch them grow. So I like that difference. And then the second part of your question, my favorite version, I mean, it's a difficult question. I guess I grew up, I think my first Batman I saw was Super Friends. Okay. So he was sort of a friendly guy. But I collected Detective Comics and Batman when I was a kid. Norm Brayfogle, I think, was one of the artists, and Jim Aparo was also. So it was kind of that era that I was collecting. And those guys did The Dark Knight. And I think that really elevated my respect for Batman. I really got into Batman at that point for the comics. So I probably lean a little more towards the realistic side, the edgier Batman. That's probably my preference. But I love the character because he can go so many different directions, from Adam West and Brave and the Bold. Adam West directing on Brave and the Bold. That show is so fun to make. And how many characters can really swing that far, So I love them both, but I probably edge a little towards the Dark Knight.
Is there any other story, not just Batman, but of DC as a whole, that you look at and you would love to make into an animated feature?
There's some Vertigo stuff that I think is right to be made into a movie. I would love to get into stuff like the Sandman, Swamp Thing. There's some good stuff in the Vertigo area that we haven't tapped in. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it's on my wish list. I'll put it there.
Good luck with Sandman.
Yeah, Sandman.
Yeah, not a Sandman fan at all.
Oh, not at all. Oh, okay.
The only good thing the Neil Gaiman did was Miracle Man, but that's another.
That's another one. I mean, there's just so many characters.
Yeah, that's
Hellblazer
from that area.
Yeah,
Hellblazer. Exactly. Yeah, there's so many. Vertigo's got some great stuff. I'd love to get into that someday.
What's the magic?
Yeah.
When you were doing this, how far did you know your limits as to how much you could push the violence? Did you kind of set a wall for yourselves so that you wouldn't get past?
Yeah. I think we all kind of collectively did. Again, it's not about kind of glorifying the violence. Like, we just we don't want to do that. I think it makes it crude. It makes it cheap. You don't want to go over the top with the blood and the violence. So we were working really hard to strike a nice balance where you feel the violence, but it's just not over the top and cheap. It was definitely at the forefront of our minds because we're dealing with pretty heavy subject matter. I mean, the movie opens with a kid, a Joker, and a cool bar. It's not a good combination. So we moderated this.
So tell us about kind of working with the voice talent, because you guys have a pretty diverse cast, all very talented actors. Kind of take us through that process of working with them and how you kind of able to coach them, especially with Jensen Ackles. I mean, it's an amazing
He was amazing.
Yeah.
He came in, I think he was really well studied. I think he read the thing, multiple times in advance, and he just knew his stuff. He had an awesome take right off the bat. Jensen was phenomenal in that role. I mean, you asked about the process. Again, as I said before, we all collectively, Bruce and Andre and I, we all read the script so many times. We've lived it 100 times before the actors even come in.
Right.
So, I think what we try to do when we're in there is just sort of not give them too much, because they read it, of course, too, before they come in. We don't want to give them too much of what's in our heads. We want to give them just enough so that they can find it for themselves and make it their own. That's a really important part for the acting. You know?
Were there any kind of surprises, like when you were in, where you were like totally like, oh, Bruce Wayne was totally going to read Batman this way, but it ended up being something different, or anything like that? Or?
I don't know. It's all like Christmas morning, so it's all a little bit surprising. When the actors come in and they all start talking, it's like, oh, so that's how the Joker's going to sound. That's awesome. I think it's a surprise for all of us, from all of us. It was a surprise.
So how much of the script, Judd's script, was redrafted as it was being filmed?
Redrafted as it was being filmed?
Well, changes. How many changes were made after the script had been delivered?
Not too many. I think if you look at some of the beats at the ending, I think we made some adjustments, but I think the core of it is still there. I think we all felt that the script was so strong, we didn't want to change it. But every once in a while, as you're going through the filmmaking process, maybe you find something that still gets the spirit of what's in the script, but maybe just amps it up a little bit, and that's kind of our job, is to find even better ways to tell the story than what's in the script. But Judd's script was so strong. Not to do a lot. It was all there.